Hello, everybody. Everyone set on audio, good to go? Okay, great. Thanks for dropping by. Wanted to take a moment just to express our concern about what is going on with Delta passengers and to make clear what we're doing about it. We informed Delta today that DOT is launching an investigation into the breakdown of operations and into the customer service situation. I'm hearing a lot of things I'm very concerned about, including people being on hold for hours and hours trying to get a new flight, people having to sleep on airport floors, even accounts of unaccompanied minors being stranded in airports, unable to get on a flight, and have taken several steps to remind Delta of their responsibilities here. I directly communicated to Delta's CEO our expectation that Delta will live up to their passenger service commitments, including specific commitments that we secured from Delta in 2022 and are prepared to enforce. That's things like rebooking passengers at no additional cost on Delta or on other airlines in order to get them to where they're going. And when there is a lengthy delay, to come through and provide hotels, accommodations, meals, ground transportation, and similar costs. Part of why we are opening this investigation is the scale of the problem. Over 6,000 flights have been canceled since Friday. Hundreds of flights have been canceled today, and we estimate that more than 500,000 passengers have been impacted by this. So we're not taking this step lightly, but clearly there is something unique to Delta that requires specific attention. Our immediate focus, again, is to make sure that they take care of their passengers, but also we want to understand how this could have happened and what will be done to make sure that it can't happen again. So having laid that out briefly, happy to take questions, and we'll look to AC to quarterback the Q&A. Go ahead.
Great, thanks, Secretary. We'll start over here with Lori. This feels an awful lot like Southwest, and so why haven't we learned? Why is this happening again?
Yeah, part of what reminds me of the Southwest scenario here is that you had an issue that affected everybody. For Southwest, it was a winter storm. Here it was the CrowdStrike outage. But then one airline in particular seems to be having a different outcome than all of the others. In the case of Southwest, we responded to that with a record enforcement action, a $140 million penalty, including a $35 million cash fine. That was about 30 times any previous penalty. The idea was to raise the bar and send a message to industry that they need to be working and meeting customers' needs at a higher level. And that higher bar is the one that we're going to follow as our North Star in this investigation too.
Senator Campbell sent a letter this morning to CEO Ed Bastian saying that the airline might not be following the FAA law when it comes to refunds. Are you seeing any instances of which Delta is already breaking the law in terms of the FAA bill, and how will that factor into your review?
That'll be part of the scope of our investigation. One thing I directly reminded the CEO of is that they do have that responsibility to provide cash refunds. If a passenger proactively indicates that they'd prefer a credit or a voucher, fine, but you are entitled to cash if your flight is canceled and you don't take a rebooking.
Thanks. Joey Erlett with Reuters. Can you give a little specifics on what exactly the department is investigating? And since there's so many cancellations with Delta relative to its other competitors, might there be something else that's amiss other than the CrowdStrike situation?
So this is day one of the investigation, so the scope might evolve. But right now, the focus of the investigation really has two main areas. One, how this breakdown could have happened, how it could be that days after the other airlines are back to normal, Delta is still canceling hundreds of flights and some of their passengers seem still to be stranded. The second question is around customer service resources. So when you do have a problem, whether it's a technical glitch, a major storm, or something else, it's important to be able to get a hold of somebody to solve your problem. When we hear about hour after hour on hold, even if you're using that chat function, it's taking hours to get a response. And also really unacceptable accounts of a line with 100 passengers waiting to talk to one customer service agent who's there to handle their vouchers and refunds. That's something that's also in scope because we require a basic level of customer service. Part of the enforcement action against Southwest related to their inability to respond to customer concerns. So that's definitely going to be part of the investigation.
Great, so we'll jump to Brendan right here.
Secretary Brendan Collerton with Gray Television. How many complaints has the DOT fielded directly from Delta since Friday? And then what's your message to those who have filed those complaints?
We have received over 3,000 complaints specific to this situation and Delta. And the message is we are going to follow up. It can take us a little while to process when that many complaints come in. But the focus when we get those complaints is, did the airline comply with the law? We always, and with our rules, we always encourage passengers to start by working with the airline. But if the airline isn't doing what they're required to do, per our regulations and per their customer service plan, which is the promises they made to us that we go back and enforce, we want to know about it. So flightrights.gov contains information, not just about what those customer service standards are, but also how to file a complaint with us if the airline's not taking care of you.
Great. Right here.
Aisha with ABC. What are you doing in terms of along with the passenger for the crew side? Because there have been reports of violations that they've been overworked, the fatigue reports, contractual violation. Is the DOT looking into that for Delta too?
That'll be for FAA to look at anytime there's anything that could bear on flight standards, fatigue, safety, anything like that, the FAA will look at. That'll be separate from the consumer protection side of the house, but certainly a concern.
Right here.
We're talking about the law that you're saying is in effect today, but technically these rules don't go into effect until October 28th. So a lot of airlines are kind of hiding behind that, saying we're not obligated to follow those quite yet. What do you say to that?
We have used some enforcement discretion to allow the airlines to prepare their systems, but just to be clear, this is now the law of the land, and they need to be providing these refunds. Especially, customers shouldn't have to ask, but if a customer does ask, then there should be zero friction in getting their money back.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. To my memory, this is the second technological outage in the past few years that has caused these massive problems. More broadly speaking, are you concerned about sort of an over-reliance on technology so that when one piece of technology goes out, all of the airlines are grounded, and what can you do about that?
Well, in a way, aviation is technology. The technologies have evolved and software is playing more of a role. We're not going to go in and dictate the business plans of individual airlines, but we are going to set a standard. In other words, what we're saying is we don't care exactly how you do it as long as you deliver safe service and meet this passenger protection standard. I do think a lot of conversations are opening up now about how to make sure systems are more resilient, and it's really the resiliency that's our concern. Again, any given day there could be a major weather event or some event like what happened on Friday with CrowdStrike. The question is your airline prepared to absorb something like that, get back on its feet, and take care of customers in the meantime? And that's where we're seeing a breakdown at Delta that is just different from how all of the other airlines responded.
And I know you're limited in what you can say, but I think everybody would be wanting to know this. Are you being vetted for VP?
Yeah, I just can't talk about campaigns and elections while I'm standing in front of this building in this capacity, but I understand.
And that's all
Thanks.
the time we have for questions.
All right.
Everyone.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank
Thank you.